I thought today I would do a little bit of a greenhouse tour. It is January 9th and wanted to show you what's growing here in our greenhouse. It's about 32, 34 degrees outside, and in here in the greenhouse it is 85 and it feels super comfortable. But let me show you what we're overwintering here in the greenhouse and what we've got growing in this greenhouse. One of the things that I do in the greenhouse is in about November, I put in this insulation that I've cut to be the same size of all the panels, and it covers everything that's the north side of the greenhouse, mostly everything. It's the kind of insulation where on one side it's the reflective material and on the other side it's white. I've got the reflective material facing the inside because my wife likes the way that the white looks on the outside so that the greenhouse isn't so much of an eyesore, so hideous from the outside, but doesn't bother me as much from the inside. This does a lot. This helps out a ton in being able to help moderate some of the cold temperature in the winter. It is now the very beginning part of January, and we haven't had to use our heater all but just a little bit for 3 days of this whole winter so far. And I keep this greenhouse above 36 degrees Fahrenheit. So the fan for the earth battery will kick on every day when the temperature gets below 50 degrees in here. And that does most of the job of moderating all the temperature. And then if it's so cold outside that the temperature in here does get low enough, even with the earth fan, I have a small little heater that will kick on to keep the temperature above 36 degrees. And as I've said, we've only had it turn on for a little bit of 3 different nights so far this whole year. So it's, I'm very excited, very proud of it. This insulation here, you can see, just kind of fits flush with I guess you would call it the supports of the greenhouse. There's a space or an indentation between the glazing here and how thick these aluminum posts are. And fortunately, this just fits right, in line with that. So I'm extremely happy with that. Happened to be very affordable, and I've got it just cut to size for most parts of the greenhouse, even here on the north side of the roof. So it's a bit of a mess, but we've got a lot that's going on in here, and I'll give you a look around. This year we grew the geraniums that we put out in our yard this past summer from seed here in the greenhouse, put them out in the yard, and then at the very end of the year when it was getting cold, I took 2 of them, pulled them out of the ground, put them in pots, brought them in here in the greenhouse, and they are extremely happy. So they've been blooming the whole winter, and you can see there's a bunch of new blooms about to happen. I think this variety was called Apple Blossom, something like that. But this is what those look like. It's kind of nice to have a touch of color when it's the deep dead of winter. I started some lettuce at the beginning of December, and here, probably over a month later, it's doing quite well. I've got a grow light which turns on about an hour before it gets dark for the day, and then stays on for 4 hours total. That way it just supplements it, gives us some extra light. These things have been doing super well. We've been able to pick from them, use it for our meals. My kids love to come out here in the greenhouse and pick from these, which is fun for us to see our kids doing well eating greens. Just have them in, I think, little 4-inch pots, but for lettuce, that seems to be doing really well. We are overwintering some vines here in the greenhouse. The purple ones are ours. We got these from a garden store 2 years ago for our front yard. Last year took some cuttings from Overwintered in our greenhouse. This year did the same. So we've got, I think, 3 of them here. And then the green ones are some plants that I'm overwintering for my parents here in the greenhouse, but they're all just kind of doing well. Not growing a ton, but also not suffering at all. You can see these ones are happy. I got a bunch of new growth here. We're overwintering these ferns for my parents as well. There's a bunch of new growth that has come up on these during the winter. Seems to love the kind of shadier conditions of the winter, and the warmth that we have during the daytime doesn't seem to be bothered at all by any of the nighttime cold. There's a bunch of new growth you can see coming here. It almost looks like asparagus. Next, we've got rosemary that we're overwintering here. Got 2 pots of lemon balm. We kind of cut those off at the end of the year, dried a bunch of it for lemon balm tea, and then it's still growing even here in the winter time. Over here is some mint. It's doing great and happy. And then overwintering some basil. Last year I overwintered some basil, and near the end of the year it just kind of died off. I think one of the problems that I had last year is I didn't fertilize anything. I had read everywhere that you're not supposed to fertilize in the winter. And I think that at least for the temperatures that we have here in the greenhouse, it's wise to keep fertilizing, not to the same degree as in the summer, but do fertilize some. It allows the plants to still grow and stay healthy. And perhaps last year, the reason why our basil did so poorly at the end of the winter was a lack of nutrients. We'll see. I started these beets last winter. They did great throughout the whole summer here into the greenhouse. Haven't gotten to all of them, although we have eaten some of them. So they're still growing here in the greenhouse. Let's see if we can find out how big some of these are. So there's some small ones. There's a big one there. Here in the center. So here's a mix of them, smaller and bigger ones. Back there, looks like there's a really big one right here. We'll eat the greens every once in a while for salads or smoothies, but we do need to get to eating the beets themselves. I want to repurpose this for ginger that I've sprouted inside the house and need a pot. So we'll likely be taking these out soon and eating a lot of beets. This next tree right here is a Meyer improved lemon. We've got one lemon that's starting to ripen a little bit, but otherwise it's just been doing a great job growing. It's new as of this year, so we haven't got any fruit other than this one lemon that's here, but I look forward to it. We use lemons a lot in our house. The next plant we have here is a miracle berry plant. I've grown these before I had a greenhouse. It was a great indoor plant and fruited extremely well indoor. Haven't taken care of this one too much because I've been too preoccupied by my love of the citrus. So I need to kind of get back to this one, but as you can see, it looks like it needs some love. Maybe some chlorosis going on. Not sure if that's just an effect of the winter, because I have been fertilizing this one a little bit, just like the rest. And in the summertime, I don't recall this issue as much, but I'll have to pay attention to it. I noticed that here in the greenhouse, it hasn't really been flowering that well. So this year, I'll probably pay more attention to this one to see what I can do to get it flower better. To be more happy. I haven't repotted it since we got it. So that's probably part of what I'll do is repot it, change the soil, and see if I can get it to be more happy. All right, the next plant here is kind of an interesting one. I'm told it comes from New Zealand, and it is kind of a wild a wild cross or a mistake that was made there. They call it a lemonade tree, but essentially it's a lemon that is not very acidic. So you can eat it more like an orange. So we've had this, there was one on the plant when we bought it last year. So last winter we were able to try that. It was amazing. It is not sour. It's much more like an orange, and you can just eat it, peel it and eat it like an orange. I'll have to see if we can do a taste test of these. There's quite a few that we need to pick, some that are ripe that I think we'll pick pretty soon and maybe show you what that's like. But the rind and everything, when it smells like a lemon, but just when you open it up and eat it, the tartness is pretty much that of an orange. So you can eat it just like that. But it's a tree that we love. It's a little bit small of a tree for the amount of fruit that is on it. This next year, I probably won't let it set very much fruit so I can get it to be a better shaped plant, but I was just so excited for it this past year. I needed to try it. I needed to see how well we would be able to keep fruit here in the greenhouse. So far, it looks like it's really well. And so now I'll focus on helping the plant to grow healthily and be able to support much more fruit in the future. Okay, this tree here is a satsuma mandarin. Very excited about this one. Haven't tried the fruit yet, so I wanted to hurry and take this video so that I can remind myself of the fruit, what it looked like, what we have, and then go ahead and try those. But you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so fruits. They're quite large. Look at it compared to my hand. I love mandarins compared to oranges. Oranges I love, but mandarins I'm really love. So I'm really excited that these are just huge and fresh. These at the store, at least around here, are usually quite expensive. So it'd be nice if this tree ends up being a big tree one day, or big enough for the greenhouse at least, and bears a lot of fruit. You can see it's also pretty healthy right here with a bunch of new growth that came in last year. So I'll focus on helping these branches become bigger and stronger to be able to hold more fruit in the future. So with this tree, during the summertime, we had probably 2 or 3 fruits that cracked open and kind of rotted on the inside. I'm not certain what causes that, so if anybody knows, I'm less familiar with citrus, and I would love to find out what causes that so I can help prevent that from happening in years to come. But really excited about this one. This shows that this can be something that is very happy in the greenhouse. This is a new plant that I got near the middle of the summer, I guess. This is a blood orange. So no fruit yet, but excited to see if it will fruit this coming spring. But it is quite small, and I'll be focusing on helping this one get the right shape so that it can bear more fruit for us the whole year. These are some ferns that we are overwintering as well. They're doing okay. Not thriving, but just fine. You can see there's kind of these burnt tips there. I just make sure to keep them watered, fertilize them lightly every once in a while, but we're doing well. You can see it in this one here. There is even some new growth that is coming up. All right, this is the biggest tree that we have in here. This is a Ruby Supreme Guava. This one is awesome. We probably got, 13 to 15 guavas this past year. It flowered in April, and we got to eat the guavas probably October through December-ish. That was awesome. Just so good, so tasty. I cut back, or at least pruned some of the tree to keep it a little bit smaller to help the branches get a little more strong. But you can see it's already getting ready with new blooms for this coming year. So excited to see that it is doing well. If we got a lot more fruit this year, I will be super excited. So tasty. Love guavas. Here's our dragon fruit. This started out quite small. It was probably just the size of from here to the ground when I started. And as it's grown and branched, I have taken cuttings of those branches. There are now 4 different plants there in that one pot. Those all came from the same original plant. And I've gotten one more here, and a small one that broke off. But I'm going to be potting these similar to that back there as soon as the spring rolls around. But you can see it's starting to trellis over the outside, and we're hoping that this year we get fruit. Really excited about this one. Love dragon fruit. Really excited to see that it can grow here in Utah in a greenhouse, even despite our cold weather outside. Well, that's a little tour of what's going on here in the beginning of January here in our greenhouse. Extremely excited for what this year will bring. I'm excited for how things have been growing so far. Learned a lot of lessons in year 1 that I hope to share soon. Let me know if you have any questions or if there are any things that you're interested in. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing what's growing here in our greenhouse this winter.